What's good, everybody? Back from hiatus. Sorry about that. Just got to get the kinks out of our system. But welcome back to Fast Break here, live for High Sports Radio, your 3 Sports. D-Locke, it's been a hot minute since July. How you been doing?
I've been doing pretty decent, man. Now we're back at football season going on. Been kind of recent throughout the past couple months until we took that break. But basketball is back. And also now we've got the WNBA going on. So ready for the season to get back started.
Yeah, man, we got a lot to dig into. Some heavy stuff has been going on since we've been out. Some news that's coming out about Kawhi Leonard we'll discuss. And what's going to happen between him, the Clippers, and Steve Balmer. Plus, we'll dive into Jonathan Kuminga. What's going to happen with him? Al Horford joins the Warriors finally. We'll talk about that Warriors situation there. Bruce Pearl retired from Auburn. What's his next plans? J.J. Redick, contract extension with the Lakers. WNBA playoffs. What a wild, strange events that's happened there. But we're going to dive into a whole bunch of stuff here on the show tonight. But before we do that, we're going to do this short commercial break. Then we catch you on the other side. But like I said, this is Fast Break here for High Sports Radio, usually for sports. We'll see you in a second.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
And welcome back here to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make this a little bit bigger for the both of us. There we go. So, we're kind of close. There we go. That's a little better. All right. Thank you for tuning in to us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Lots to talk about, lots to get into here tonight. If you're new to the show, do follow us on X on Fast Break IESR. That's Fast Break IESR. Those are two main accounts. If you see these two main accounts here at Black Dash 813 and Spawn 4288, we're probably mad because both our teams lost today, especially me and all that stuff. So if you see like hate 20 about NFL teams, you see that right there.
Correct.
But D-Locke, we're back from hiatus. How you been doing, sir, for the past couple months?
Pretty decent. Like I said, just kind of been being the college coach, you stay busy for a lot of the time. So a lot of phone calls, recruiting, stuff like that. So just preparing my athletes, getting them ready. And we started school back up in late August. So just trying to get those things in order. I actually had a few recruits this past weekend. So we had a big game against Louisville, which we ended up losing. A close game. But now, like I said, I think along with that, taking the kids around campus, I'm seeing, women's volleyball take their pictures preparing for college basketball, getting ready for their season. Also men's volleyball, taking their pictures and getting ready for college basketball as well. So now, like I said, this is the time where we start to see basketball season come back around. Obviously, WNBA slowly coming to an end. So just been staying pretty busy because now this is the part of the year that everybody loves because you got football going on. Then obviously baseball is slowly coming to that part of the season. World Series coming up, and now basketball. You know what I mean? So it's going to be very interesting, man. Definitely excited to see how the rest of this NBA season goes.
Yeah, I think the WNBA. I'll start with them first. They took a hit in engagement when Caitlin Clark went out.
Mm-hmm.
And and it shouldn't be that way because the Fissa Collier, Asia Wilson, Aaliyah Boston,
mm-hmm.
Those ladies kind of picked a slack, but they didn't get the pub like they should have gotten. Even when Clayton Clark went out,
right?
Like Asia Wilson, she got her fourth MVP in the league,
right?
So I mean, I think that should have got more pub and love. And me personally, I thought Nafessa Collier should have got it, but I wonder they penalized her because she missed those games. Around like August or so. Like, damn, y'all penalize her for that potentially. But anyways, talk for another day. But I think they kind of suffer a little bit. But now you're looking at going to the WNBA playoffs. The Liberty get bounced, their coach get fired. And I say it on our show's page right here. That's like an NHL type of firing right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know how NHL coaches do. They win a championship, then next year they gone for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And them firing, their coach, like, whoa. When you first championship with that franchise, the first,
then you let them go.
The likes of Rebecca Lobo, Teresa Revinspoon, Becky Hammond, others come through that organization, and then you let her go. That's crazy to me. Seattle Storm let their coach go, and they seem like a shit storm up there. But I think some positives for WNBA. Paige Bueckers, she's like the real deal.
Oh yes,
but she's not getting the love like Caitlin Clark did, and I think she should for the betterment of the league, in my opinion. And one more thing about WNBA, Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the NBA, she got to go. To me, good players in this league, and you and your team can market and get them more recognized around the world.
Right.
Something's got to change there because you kind of falling in the bag with all this talent in your league. It's great that expansion is happening. Shout out to the Golden State Valkyries making the playoffs. But some of the players I just named, throw in Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, Stewie, and others, you kind of fumble the bag getting the name out for your league. My humble opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think, the NBA has their stars, and it's been like that for years. But then you have people like Wilson, who wins the MVP, all these other stars that can make that big of a difference. Can put your WNBA on notice. You know what I mean? And that's a big thing. Like I said, I think a lot of people hear about NBA, talk about now WNBA is being talked about. Somebody I know very well, Ashley, she definitely knew who Aja Wilson was, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? So it's getting the exposure that it needs, but I think it can be expanded more. And that's where that ticket sale, that's when those sales come around, to where people can talk about, these stars So when you do have that, like I said, Caitlin Clark, that like you said, that took a huge hit, but she's not the only one that should get a lot of this attention. You know, and it can go other places. And when you do get that exposure now, these expansion teams, these cities that are considering having a WNBA team, they would definitely look into it, invest in money. So to me, I think, she has to, like I said, if it's not going to be, if she can't do it, then maybe they got to look somewhere else, as far as the commissioner, because as you said, and as the phrase says, they are dropping the bag, you know what I mean, big time. And that's what's going on. So again, I think for me, that's something that has to be considered, because this league deserves more teams and that exposure. And she's the one that, is very much important. It takes full responsibility for that.
Yeah, and we'll see how the WNBA playoffs shake out. We'll probably talk about the playoffs at the back end of the show. But I think this segment right here, I think is going to take up the bulk of our first half of the segment of the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen. On our hiatus, Pablo Torre, he used to work for ESPN, now works for Dan Lebertard and his crew with Locke Media. He put this story out last month. Early this month, excuse me. Like early in the morning. Boom. Everybody seen talk about Kawhi Leonard and all this stuff. He got this 300-page documented paper. If y'all hadn't seen the podcast, him, Amino Hassan, and I forgot the other dude's name. Was kind of like a lawyer or whatnot. If y'all seen this podcast, check it out. Pablo Torre, look on YouTube. You'll see that there. He dropped the bombshell about Kawhi Leonard. And what was reported by him was Kawhi Leonard reportedly received a $28 million no-show endorsement deal with this company that's now bankrupt, named called Aspiration. Now, some of y'all probably listen to this and like, what the hell is Aspiration? Aspiration was this company that, like, trying to save the earth, plant trees, you'll save the world, you'll save the polar ice caps, all that good stuff. That's what it was. And it had some heavy hitters in the D-Lock. It had like people like Drake, Robert Downey Jr., Leonardo DiCaprio, among others, associated with this. Now, the thing with Kawhi that gets him caught up in this, the people I just named, they did little commercials, infomercials, and tweets about Aspiration. Kawhi Leonard did not. Now, you want to know how much Kawhi Leonard got out of this deal? $28 million. $28 million. Now, was not only backed by the people at Aspiration, but also his boss, Steve Balmer, put funds into this. Also about this deal real quick, the deal allegedly required time, little to no actual promotional work for Leonard. So, raising concerns that it was a way to funnel extra money outside his NBA contract. This came out, let me make sure I got my other notes in here. Give me just a second. This deal, let's see. I had it saved too. Was that, I think, around 2021 when he signed that contract extension. So this is not like when he initially signed the Clippers or whatnot in that offseason, which we'll get to more on that in a second. This is when he re-signed with the Clippers that summer right there.
Correct.
So D-Lock, your thoughts on this? of the money, how it happened, your thoughts on the whole deal and all that stuff. When, it surprised a lot of people that Kawhi Leonard's name showed up in it. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think in my mind, this is with how Kawhi goes about playing his games. I'm not really surprised. Taking games off, injury or not. This is something that I'm not surprised of Kawhi Leonard. Now, I think this is highway robbery. I honestly think it is, because you're talking about $28 million and you haven't done anything for it. And you signed up for it. You had a contract, had a plan to do something, and you did not do that. Now, my thing is, this is not something that was just done overnight. Like, you clearly can see, the opportunities, commercials, and different things. Like, what the hell was you doing to where you were not participating in these, commercials or these different promotions? Why are you not participating in this? You know what I mean? Like, again, we talk about just basketball in general. This dude sneezes and he's not playing.
Yeah.
So it's, him, like I said, that not playing back-to-back games, or feeling as if he doesn't have to play this game because it's not as important, and try to wait into the playoffs. This contract situation, this money situation is totally different. So to me, I just think it's highway robbery, man. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm just like, damn, like, you made a deal, had plans to do something, then you kind of backed out of it. Now you got to hold a person accountable. You know what I mean? I think that for both parties, but I just think that that's something that you have to be a part of, especially if you made a commitment to be a part of it, and now you're just backing out and collecting the money too.
Mm-hmm.
That's, like I said, it's clearly highway robbery in my opinion.
I found the screenshots I took of like the main points of this. One point on the compensation part. In consideration of the rights and benefits granted to the company Underwork company will pay. Now this is on like a kind of like a fake account, offshore account, that when public found out about it, the name was KL2. So Kawhi Leonard, his initials, and his jersey number 2. $28 million in cash during the terms of this agreement. Company will pay KL2 $7 million each year of the term. The payment should be made quarterly in areas in the amount of 1.7 million before March 31st, June 30th, September 30th, and December 31st for each year of the term. The first payment should be paid on June 30th of 2022. All payments will be wire transferred to KL's two accounts. For avoidance of doubt, the terms of the agreement begins on April 1st, 2022 and expires on March 11th of 2026. So he had payment plans set up with this.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who helped broker this deal seemed to be everybody's favorite NBA uncle, Uncle Dennis. Now, if some of y'all not familiar with Uncle Dennis Robinson, his full name, he is Kawhi Leonard's uncle. And over the past few years, he's been kind of basically Kawhi's handler of his contract, all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, seems like Uncle Dennis has been trying to get demands off of Kawhi's name. Now, we don't know if Kawhi asked for this stuff, or Uncle Dennis is going about his own business, doing it behind his back. But it seems like there's an acknowledgement there, D-Lock, that, they both kind of hip to what one is doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also in this podcast, it's been reported that probably Tory did that. Uncle Dennis, he'd be hounding them about the money and stuff like that if it don't go through and all that stuff. And it just seemed like it's like a hot mess. And one more thing about this. Out of all the people, and probably interviewed a person who used to work for Aspiration. When asked about Kawhi Leonard and his involvement, they said, "Don't worry about it." That's what the girl said to Papa when she asked the people above her, like, what we do about Kawhi and stuff like that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about it. None of your business. So this is a lot, and this is the date, the file date of the KL22 here. If y'all can see that here, that is the date. That's the date he agreed to that extension. Also around that time, that's when they started the workings of the Intuit Dome down in Inglewood. If y'all remember that, Kawhi, Paul George, they all showed up at the ribbon cutting ceremony for the construction. That's when all that went down. So D-Lock, and I didn't get to the Steve Balmer. He put money into this.
Mm-hmm.
All this came out because of the bankruptcy that this company went under. But Steve Ballmer put a lot of money into this. Let me ask you this. Was it necessary to do this to keep Kawhi there? Because if you remember, Kawhi wanted to get back to LA regardless.
Yeah.
Even he's in San Antonio and Toronto. He wanted to get back to LA regardless.
Correct.
Was it necessary to do this extra money thing, in your opinion? The funnel money and all this stuff. Was it necessary? In your eyes?
You know what? I'm gonna say yes. And the reason why is because we hear stars move to LA, to be competitive in a lot of sports. So we talk about LeBron going to the Lakers, different people going to LA to be competitive on the sports side, but also to expand their brand. Maybe get in movies, do things that's off the field, off the court. So in this situation with Kawhi, let's be honest, the Clippers haven't done anything since he's been there. They haven't been good. The expectation of remember seeing both Kawhi and Paul George come up to the press conference, and we thought that they were going to have this hell of a season, and it hasn't panned out that way. They talked about, I think Magic Johnson was saying he would have gotten Kawhi. He was trying to get Kawhi to come to LA with LeBron, go to the Lakers with LeBron. That didn't pan out. He ended up picking the Clippers. A lot of people talked about why Kawhi didn't pick the Lakers. He picked the Clippers to be different, go somewhere else, and win a championship or be competitive. And they have not been.
Yeah.
So that's one part that play a huge part. We know that Kawhi is, trying to compete for a championship and wants to. He wants to be in LA, but obviously compete for a championship is probably at the top of his list. Now, knowing that, I think that he wants to expand his brand as well. Remember when he first, I think the first game against the Lakers, when he first signed it, they had that. Remember that New Balance commercial? He like that first New Balance commercial that dropped literally, I think, opening day when the Lakers and the Clippers played against each other, and that was huge. So they talk about the shoes that he got, cool, but it's just the fact that since then we haven't seen Kawhi on that many commercials in it. I think we've seen him in a music video. I forgot who it was. I think it's either Drake or Future. I can't remember who music video it was, but regardless, it didn't have anything to do with Los Angeles and how his expansion of his brand in Los Angeles. So in my eyes, I don't think that this is really geared towards his career, but more so his his money and his fame off the court. A lot of times, again, you have a lot of stars that do come to LA. A lot of athletes do come to LA to be competitive, but they want to expand their brand in many ways. And I think that this is them trying to do that. Now, the way Kawhi approached it, obviously, we see how he went about it. But again, I think it was probably something that they wanted to add on because, again, even if it's your home, you have stars like a LeBron and a Kawhi, Anthony Davis. These guys want to have some kind of fame in LA. LeBron got to LA and then boom, Space Jam comes out. Space Jam 2. You know what I mean? So these things are something that's probably thought about. And I'm thinking the Clippers are trying to do something very similar for Kawhi, but this is how it pans out. So in my mind, I think it was a little necessary.
I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out. I know his uncle has been other reports coming out that he wanted like X amount of things for the Raptors. We're trying to get Kawhi to resign. Of course, they balked at that. And then with the Lakers, he's trying to ask for multiple demands, and they kind of laughed them off. Now, kind of looking back at it now, they probably made the wise decision. But you're talking about Kawhi Leonard this last season in the NBA Finals, and y'all the Lakers kind of like kind of, I don't say struggling, but you kind of fell on the wayside a little bit after LeBron got hurt. To me, D-Lock, I think the thing that Kawhi Leonard screwed up on, him and Uncle Dennis screwed up on, and I think you kind of attribute to it Kawhi's personality. I know he doesn't want to be seen and all that stuff and be, on the cameras and stuff like that. But sometimes you gotta fake the funk to get your money.
Right.
And I mentioned that on our Twitter page. It's cool. Hey, it's cool. Get your money. But, somebody between Steve Balmer, ask somebody aspiration, or Uncle Dennis, they should have told Kawhi, show a picture of him planting a tree or something like that for like a 30-second clip, or like a picture or something. Like the no-show thing is, I think that's the main crux of it. Like it's going to hurt.
Yeah,
that's the huge part. All the other things I brought up, they at least did something, like a tweet, something, kissing aspiration ass, something like that. They did that. But Kawhi, he did none of that. And I think, it kind of goes back to the thing about Kawhi is like, he wants the accolades and stuff like that, but at certain times, he don't want to put the effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know what endorsement he has besides New Balance and local deals around LA or whatever, but you don't see him in, Coca-Cola commercials, Sprite, Pepsi.
Nope.
What else? Like a jewelry company, Amazon, whatever, Walmart, because he keep to himself. That's cool. But you want the extra money, you gotta fake the funk for a little bit. And I think, him not trying to fake the funk, whatever, and his uncle, cutting these side deals or whatnot, I think he might bite them and the Clippers in the ass. And what that punishment should be. Here's like some of the potential penalties, D-Lock. There's fines up to $7.5 million, suspension of team personnel, who all knew about it, the forfeiture of draft picks, in which, hell, all basically to OKC, and possibly the big one, voiding Leonard's contract. So you talking about Steve Balmer, who's the richest owner in all pro sports, not just the NBA, but all pro sports, worth billions of dollars. $7.5 million ain't gonna hurt him.
Nah, that's pennies.
Hell, yeah, that's pennies to him. But let me ask you this. You mentioned this earlier. Leonard, the return's been somewhat disappointing with the Clippers run. Could the void of the contract be that get out of jail free card and maybe start a rebuild with the Clippers?
I think so, but the problem is I don't think they want to. I think they're still holding on. I think that's my problem with Steve Ballmer and the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard. I think that they see that this has not worked. They've tried it. They've, you know what I'm saying, brought in Paul George, James Harden, all these different pieces, and it hasn't worked. So they've invested a lot. You know, Kawhi Leonard, but at the same time, it's just not working. You know what I mean? So now in my mind, I think they should have started this rebuild. You know, you got Kawhi there, you probably can get a couple pieces and a couple of draft picks for this guy. But this could be something that kind of forces that. I don't think that they want to, in my mind. The Clippers are literally hanging on to this. So again, I think it is due for a rebuild, in my opinion. But how long are they gonna just continue trying to avoid? But this could be something that raises eyebrows and be like, all right, cool. Excuse me, this is, I think, the time where you guys need to go ahead and just start over.
Yeah, I think it all depends what Steve Ballmer wants to do. It's like if he wants to keep Kawhi around, does he take a season suspension, and keep Kawhi around, or does he like, okay, I'll take this fines, penalties, and a little suspension, and we cut Kawhi's Leonard contract? I don't know. You know, somebody on the guy that runs Spot Rack, you know, he's mentioned on Twitter that I think, you know, post All-Star game, we'll hear like the conclusion of everything, because they're doing the All-Star game in the Intuit Dome. You know, and I think he made a good point. I was like, we'll hear something more about this after the All-Star game, because they're not going to punch the Clippers and all this stuff before All-Star game. That'd be like bad pub for the league. I mean, it's bad pub regardless, but, you know, with the report coming out in, you know, early September and football kicking in gear and stuff like that, it somewhat got lost in the shuffle.
Correct.
But, you know, to do it before the All-Star break and all that stuff, or afterwards, it's still bad pub for the league. And going to the comments real quick, Tam Rodriguez, how you doing tonight, sir? What a sick situation for the Clippers. Do you think the Lakers would be in this situation? Or would the NBA sweep it under the rug because the Lakers are a big market team? Well, the Clippers are a big market team too. And Steve Ballmer has raised the profile of the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of like another thing a lot of people have kind of brought up by Adam Silver and his comments and stuff like that. You know, how you go about punishing your big whale, in a sense, in the league? Because, you know, post Donald Sterling with Steve Ballmer, that's been fantastic for the league. Donald Sterling will do jack squat for the Clippers at all. Steve Ballmer has raised the value of the franchise, got his own arena. That own arena is going to be used for the Olympics. It has been used for the Kendrick concert that happened on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, NCAA tournament site, all that type of stuff. You know, it's been great for the league. I don't think the Lakers would have done it because they don't got the money like that.
Not to be giving somebody that ain't gonna be working.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, the Lakers don't got the money like that, and that's why the bus assemblies finally sold their stake in the franchise to the Dodgers owner. They're old.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the new owner, maybe possibly, but the bus siblings, no, they don't got it like that. That's why they finally sold. Because if some of y'all don't know, Jerry Buss, when he left the team to the kids, he left it in a way like, say, for example, if one dies off, that cut goes to other siblings that stay alive. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if so-and-so died, they be asked out of any deal that happens. The kids won't get, I mean, I'm pretty sure they take care of the children, the nieces and nephews, whatever, but they be asked out. You as an individual. The Buss family I'm not saying they don't have $28 million to funnel to a charity, but it's gonna be hard pressed. I mean, to convince all of them to keep Kawhi Leonard and say, hey, here's $28 million. We'll spread it around for a few months or so, for a few years, if you stay with us. They don't got the money for that.
Yeah.
But you know who does? Steve Balmer does.
And I think that's the reason why it played out how it did with the Clippers, because this would have been definitely exposed with the Lakers. And again, like I said, I think, the Lakers, as much as both teams want to win, we know the expectation of the Lakers. We know what they expect in LA. So, or what the Lakers expect. So, that franchise. So, for me, this is stuff that would not even, in my eyes, wouldn't even happen to the Lakers and just be swept under the rug. I think it would have been brought to light early, or we would have seen, hey, listen, Kawhi ain't working, he out of here. You know what I mean? And that's I think that's the difference between the Lakers and the Clippers. That's the reason why the Lakers have been successful so long, and the Clippers have been where they were so long. But again, like I said, I think stars do come to LA to have a financial investment or bonus outside of their sport.
Yeah.
But it's just, for me, just how this went with the Clippers, I just don't see this being something that could happen at any bigger teams. Like, I just definitely don't see it, especially the Lakers.
Yeah, and I'll leave it like this. I think if you're Kawhi, I know you love your uncle. I know you appreciate what he does for you, but sometimes I don't think best interest in you, but he don't see the long game. He's just like so short-sighted to secure money, secure like big money and stuff like that. He don't look at the long-term effect of these type of things. And yeah, it's cool. Hey, you go to Steve and you convince him, hey, if you do this for us, we'll stay with the Clippers.
Right.
And I don't think he realized, like, okay, my nephew ain't the most open person in the world, but I gotta tell him, hey, to get this money, you gotta do this every once in blue moon.
Mm-hmm.
He could have done that, and Kawhi could have done that. Like, go around. I think reason from Kawhi from Inglewood or Compton. Say you build some planting some trees and for aspiration, something like that. Something. And we'll see, like I said, we'll see how the investigation goes. Some other stuff has come out that that Pablo Torre did about the situation. So this situation is not done yet.
Nah.
Because this is like damn near we're talking about $28 million to Kawhi Leonard on top of his max deal with the Clippers. That's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. This $28 spread out on stuff is on top of his NBA contract. That's the thing. And a lot of people, start raising suspicions like, hey, what about Dirk Nowitzki? He took those little short money deal, like short-term contracts years ago with Mark Cuban, who's some reason or another defended Steve Balmer on this. Some people had looked at Jalen Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
Him taking less money because of the tax on that stuff, and Leon Rose convinced them for the betterment of the team. Some people raised questions about that. So I don't know if it's just like a thing in pro sports, unless you know something that I don't know. But this is like I don't say this is like the first of me hearing something like this under the table deals. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but damn, this this amount is something else. I'll let you have the last word.
I mean, it is. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, we're talking about how much money it is also. You talk about 28 mil. And this man, Kawhi, just decided that he just ain't going to show up for work. So that just tells you a lot. You know what I mean? Integrity is huge. I think that. But again, I'm not surprised as much because of how things have went with him during the NBA season. I mean, if this is something that think about it, he loves basketball.
Oh, yes.
This is his passion. This is what he loves to do. If he's taking time off of that, what the hell you think he's going to do with something that he's not too much interested in and you're paying him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just something that you got to really think about. And I just think that, like I said, this is probably not the first time that this is happening in many sports or different athletes. It's just the fact that it is who we know well as Kawhi, and it's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So, again, I really want to see how this punishment goes, what happens with it. But this is something that is going to be talked about throughout the season until we get a full judgment on it and full discussion of what really happens. But I'm at a level now where it's just like, dang, dude, like, again, if you will sit, if they give you a chance, and granted, like I said, there's times when he do have injuries, what I'm saying, that he has to take time off. I get that. But excuse me, we already know that he does the back-to-back sometimes where he's not playing or for some various reasons. But this situation is way different. You know what I mean? So again, probably seen it as a money grab, and it got exposed.
So we'll leave it on that, and I think throughout the season, this will be a topic that comes about, and it seems like something new that Pablo Torre finds out, and something new comes about this. So the league really can't hide this like they wanted to and all that stuff. But we want to take a quick break. On the other side of things, D-Lock, I want to get your thoughts on Jonathan Kuminga and that Golden State situation there. Your thoughts on that. Then also thoughts on JJ Redick, his contract extension. Bruce Pearl retiring from basketball. Does he have his eyes for something else? All that. But this is Fast Break here for High Sports Radio. You're the Reef Forward Sports. We'll catch you on the other side.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the show here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us here tonight. Good to be back on the airways for IE Sports Radio. As you saw the last commercial, do follow IE Sports Radio on Instagram, X, on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Do follow us on those sites. Give us a follow. Comment on the insiders who do great work for the network. You know, football season full gear. So a lot of quick recaps of teams around the NFL, college football, volleyball, everything. So MLB, playoffs about to start there. NHL, right around the corner for the NHL. So do follow IE Sports Radio, all your social media feeds right there. And like I said, do follow us on X, on Fastbreak ISR. Also, our own personal handles right there as well on X/Twitter. D-Locke, one player who's kind of been in limbo is Jonathan Kuminga.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Kuminga, promising forward for the Warriors. My personal opinion, and we talked about it for years on the show, has kind of been shackled in a sense. And some of you are saying, why shackled? Well, shackled meaning that, it's like Steve Kerr is kind of really holding him back to fulfilling his potential. Kuminga has been offered multiple contracts by the Warriors. One deal for like 3 years, $75 million. A 2-year deal for $45 million. Both include team options, which Kuminga's camp shot down immediately, which I don't blame him there. Also, Kuminga did not go to a training camp held by Jimmy Butler in San Diego. Feeling speculation of the rift from the team. The Warriors they're holding firm on the October 1st deadline for Kuminga, which, they signed the extension with the Warriors for 3 years. Does it do the 1 year tender for 7.9 and go to unrestricted free agency next year, where a lot of teams have more cap? D-Lock, your thoughts on the situation and what's the resolution in your eyes should happen between both parties?
Well, I think they just signed Al Horford.
Yep.
And I think that, like I said, the potential that Jonathan Kuminga have, we've talked about it many times. It seems like signing Al Horford, they're trying to win now. That's what they are now. I mean, you just added literally some more age onto your roster. You know what I mean? And signing Al Horford, along with having Steph and Draymond, these guys, they're in win now mode, especially with Jimmy Butler. This team is pretty put together pretty well. Obviously knowing who OKC is going to bring back, Minnesota Timberwolves, who they have, and what Denver's going to look like. So in my eyes, I think that Kuminga probably needs to move on from this. Right now, they do have a few young pieces at Warriors. I'm pretty sure I gotta know how to pronounce a few of these names, man, because it's been a while. But they still have a few young pieces, but they have the guys that they're gonna lean on with Jimmy Butler, Al Horford, Steph Curry. Obviously Brandon Podzimmy there. Draymond being who he is. They still got Tracy Jackson Davis there. So to me, this is a win now team. They're not trying to rebuild, and I think knowing that this team is put together to be in the win now mode, also having Buddy Hield. So for me, I would say these two need to go separate ways.
Yeah.
Now, where Jonathan Kuminga lands, that's the big question. But being in Golden State, I think, is probably not the best way to go about it, because how this team is looking is going to run through Steph and Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? That's just going to be what it is. Brandon Podzimmy is going to come in and have his run. We're just not going to see too much of Kuminga, I believe, now. And then obviously we know what happens during the season as far as trades, different things. So for me, if I'm Kuminga, I'm probably looking elsewhere. I think the big signing of Al Horford was a huge sign to move on. And it's I'm not gonna say it sucks bad, but it's just knowing what we've heard about Kuminga, the expectation, the progression that he's made, and what he can be in this league. We're thinking this is one of the young pieces for the Warriors. But now, knowing where Steph is age-wise, Jimmy Butler, and now Horford, this is clearly a team that's trying to be in win-now mode at this moment. So I think Kuminga definitely needs to look elsewhere. Do the Lakers consider? That's a thought. But again, in my opinion, I think Kuminga needs to definitely go separate ways. I mean, because right now, I don't really see him getting too much PT there. And now even Tracy Jackson Davis, I remember last year, he was getting a hell of a lot last year. So he's kind of filling that role. But so now, even when they play small ball, we've seen Jackson Davis in there. So, a couple of these guys they got is going to play a big role. But in my opinion, I think, this is sucks to hear. I'm pretty sure Warrior fans don't want to because of what they heard so far about Kuminga, but it's time to definitely move on.
I think, a couple videos on this situation during the summer. And I looked directly in the camera and said, Jonathan Kuminga, if you ever see this, sign a 1-year tender and be done with this team. I camera just like this. I say, hey, sign a 1-year tender, be done. Because they want to keep him, but kind of keep him that nobody else don't want to trade for him. And I think they know that. And I don't think it's right in a sense they've been butting heads. Like I don't say butting heads, but like playing wise and style wise, Steve Kerr has really kind of held his boy back. And last season, he had a good stretch and stuff like that, and then he don't play a couple games after that.
Mm-hmm.
Going on with Moses Moody too, and they definitely bungled the James Wiseman situation. So I'm just like looking at this is like, oh, we got breaking news: Juju Watkins to miss the season for USC. Ooh, that's big.
Wow.
But to focus on rehab, so I don't blame her. She got injured in March, so yeah, I don't blame her. But back to Kuminga,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like if I Kuminga, I'm asking Steve Kerr in the front office, like, hey, Mike Dunn leaving, like, hey, y'all want to keep me, but y'all seem to not put the shackles on me.
Yep.
What y'all's playing for me? What is your ideal plan for me? Because I play well, then you sit me a couple games. You know what I'm saying? There's times that Draymond plays like shit, but he still throws Draymond out there. And I don't think it's right for Kuminga, for some odd reason, to be held back by this team. It's time to let him go. If you do the signing trade with the Kings or the Phoenix Suns or the Bulls, just get the deal done. Get some compensation back. Do something. Because, like I said, I think you should sign a 1-year deal. Be done with it. Go like what Cam Thomas is doing in Brooklyn. Because he kind of like the same boat with Kuminga. Being shackled by the franchise that drafted him. Sign a 1-year deal. Hope things work out. Don't get injured. If you hurt, whatever, just stay off. Well, just take a couple games off and be done with it. Like,
Yeah.
I just kind of hate that for him that he's stuck like this. And they offer him contracts, but he don't want to stay there.
He's young too, 22 years old.
Yeah, and 22 years old. And some reason or another, they kind of see him as a person of the future, but you're not treating him as such.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I had a chance to ask Steve Kerr that during media days and stuff like that going on now, I'll ask him such a question like, hey, why are you, if y'all trying to offer this big time contract and stuff like that, why are y'all treating him as such for your organization? I'll ask him that question. So, to me,
my biggest thing with that is, I agree with you, there. What he's 22 years old.
mm-hmm.
He can be a huge star in this league. We talked about it with Cam Thomas. Same thing. Remember when he first got in the league, and we looking at, well, damn, this dude, they would give him a couple minutes and then put him on the bench. He would get a couple minutes and go get you 14 and 3, and then they put him on the bench. Like, why are you holding shackle on this dude? So I think the same thing with Kuminga is going on. I think that the difference in these franchises is Brooklyn doesn't have a win-now team. You know what I mean? They don't have a win-now team. The Warriors right now, you have an aging Steph. I'm pretty sure you probably seen on that Twitter page, I'm pretty sure you've seen the picture where they got like all the superstars, LeBron, Steph, Jimmy Butler, Al Horford, all of these stars like in their mid-30s, 37. They say, oh, our what we grew up on is about to end. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So these guys that we've watched for so long, yes, they're about to retire. Steph is in that range. Jimmy Butler is there. Al Horford, now that you signed him, is there. So they're not looking at the future. Like we talked about with the Clippers. Should the Clippers, kind of start over and rebuild that team and start somewhere? The Warriors aren't thinking that. So if he, like I said, even considering going back, you just seen the news today or recently with Al Horford getting signed. That should be the biggest thing to let you know what they're about to do. They're not looking at the future. So as much potential as he has, they're not trying to build for him right now. So that means if you do go back, now you're wasting some of your time, your minutes being there because, okay, you may be there competing for a championship. That's not necessarily guaranteed. But the PT that you can get, we talk about the brand. We talked about NBA, WNBA, and the Kawhi situation. The brand that he can build is going to stall a little bit by staying in Golden State and not getting that time. So it's a lot of things that is going on in this situation. And he just has to say, hey, look, like you said, sign this 1-year deal. All right, boom, I'm out. I need to go check. I need to go see some other places to check out because you do have young teams that are still building. Prime example, Orlando Magic. They are a very young team. They got Desmond Bain, cool. They're putting something together, but they have room and space in a roster space for somebody that's pretty young in the roster that they have. So he can fit into that rotation. He can come in and help build for the future with that team, with a Banchero. You know what I mean? Jalen Suggs. So to me, I think that it's time to move on from Golden State. You know what they're doing right now. They are trying to win right now. Let's double check. Okay, you have Steph is what, 30, 34?
36.
Oh, yeah, he's 37.
36, 37.
Yeah, so he's 37. Jimmy Butler is 36. Al Horford is probably, let me see. Al Horford is 39.
And Draymond's what, 33?
Draymond, double check. I think Draymond is 35.
Oh, damn.
So again, I mean, right now you got Brandon Podzimmy, who's a young guy, and Buddy Hield is even 32.
Oh yeah.
So if you look at this team, like 4 of your starters are over 30 years old, and the only one that's probably going to be there when Kuminga does get that run is going to be Buddy Hield, and at that point he's probably going to be gone too. So as much as you want to rebuild and sit, cool. Like I get it because we've seen teams kind of take that approach. I think it's time to go somewhere else. Go join another team that can, make that run. Hell, look at the New York Knicks. Somebody get somewhere where you can kind of get in and show that talent, and build that brand. Because as much as we know what the Warriors are. We know what they're going to be. And then you bring in a 39-year-old. Like, you're not bringing a 39-year-old to just be there for the next 5 years. Yeah, I hope he's probably going to retire in the next 2 years. So that tell you all you need to know. They're giving this dude a multi-year contract. They're trying to win right now. So he needs to, like I said, I think they need to go separate ways. And he just got to explore his options. You know what I mean? Go somewhere that you can get that run. Now, it does seem like Brooklyn is in that rebuilding mode with the pieces that they have. Also having Michael Porter. But in my mind, I think he just need to look at different options because I don't think Golden State is the right way to go.
I'm looking at a spot right. You mentioned your Orlando Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Jet Howard, Jonathan Isaac, in the future first for a signing trade for Kuminga. Would you do that if you're the Magic?
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna do it just so I can get rid of Jonathan Isaac. That's number one. I would because there's no injury. Jonathan Isaac has his injury history. Jet Howard does have a chance to do a lot, but him getting in rotation is probably going to start to slim down a little bit with the team that we have now. I think Kuminga could come in and help, with what we do have with Banchero. So I definitely would look into it because I don't think we need any draft. Drafting anybody else on this team, it probably is a no-go. You already got your young pieces with this team. So the guys that you get, I'm gonna double check, look at this depth chart. They're not gonna get into much with Franz Wagner, Banchero, Anthony Black is probably gonna take a much bigger role this year. You know what I mean? So yeah, Jet Howard would be one that'd be hard to get off of, but I definitely would consider that because you're gonna have Jalen Suggs. He's gonna have his norm, but Anthony Black. But I definitely would consider Kuminga because of what he can bring and because of the age that he is. This is your young pieces. Remember, we talked about this literally. It probably wasn't even 2 years about OKC. It probably was literally 2 years ago. We talked about how young this OKC team is, the potential that they have. SJ, all these other guys, this team could be really good. All they need is a vet to come in, possibly, or somebody with championship experience. And what they do, they go sign Alex Caruso.
Yep.
So it like you have the young team in Orlando. You know, you may bring in another young piece, and over time you build that chemistry and you build that. Okay, boom! Now we got this team that we're going to stick with for a while. Banchero could be your one of your NBA's best players, and now you have a team that can compete for the East, compete in the East consistently. We're not going to see Jason Tatum that much this year coming up, obviously. So now it kind of opens the East up a little bit more. So yeah, I definitely would. Like I said, I would consider that trade big time. And now you have your core for the next 5 to 8 years, because that's what we're looking at SGA right now in the OKC. They got a hell of a lot of pieces right now, and they still got all them damn picks.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, if I'm Orlando, if I'm a team that's trying to build that core, I definitely would consider it.
And this is hypothetical, ladies and gentlemen. We're just throwing this out here because, like I said, this Kuminga situation, we don't know when it's going to end. What's he going to do? Whatever. But if you kind of looking around the league, I don't see Chicago being a good fit because you got Patrick Williams on the deal there, and they kind of play similar positions.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like if you get Kuminga, you got to move Patrick Williams to free up that time there. Phoenix is an interesting destination because I think they can break up the glut of guards they got there. I think that'd be a good spot for him to be like a number 2 in a sense, because you got Devin Booker there, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks is a defender mostly. You throwing Kuminga in there and let him flourish. Somebody Kuminga who averaged 15 points last year can come in and get you 18 and possibly like 6 rebounds, 7 rebounds a game in a full-time starter mode. And then the Sacramento one, I know it's interest there, but it's just like I don't see a fit there. That team is like bloated. Malik Monk, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Sabonis, Murray, Keon Ellis. As that team's is bloated, but I just think the best situation for him, best situation is time to win your deal tender and get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And then with a team like the Wizards, who got like a lot of salary cap next summer, this upcoming summer, that could be a good spot for him to kind of like, hey, to spread my wings and to be that dude. Because the Wizards got a lot of money coming to contract after the season ends. But your Orlando Magic, I say for them, only because past couple years, Banchero, Wagner been hurt at different times during the seasons. And if you get someone like Kuminga to come in and fill that void,
Yep.
You still staying afloat of things, stuff like that, and not taking a setback.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if all these horses are healthy and good to go, and some of the other guys take growth, now we're talking. Now, you're right here with the Knicks, right here with the Cavs for the upcoming season.
Yep.
The Bucks, we'll see how they go about things. But you're there. But to put a bow in this is like I don't know where he ends up. I think he signed a 1 year. To me, I think he signed a 1 year tender and plays that way. We're talking October 1st when this deadline is supposed to be. That's 5 days from now. So I don't know what's going to happen with this squad and what they're going to do with him. But I think he needs to make the decision and be at peace with it and don't let it linger anymore. I'll let you have last word.
I mean, again, I think I said I agree with that. Like I said, I think the Warriors is just something that needs to be moved on from. I mean, like I said, I think right now we know what they're trying to do. Just explore the other options and the best spots to be at. Because, like you said, he could possibly go to the Wizards, and take over and be, that guy. Like I said, another team, like I said, I really think wouldn't be bad is the Brooklyn Nets, man. I think right now with what they're doing, what they're trying to do, they're in that rebuild mode. I mean, there's not much that they have there. I just feel like now you can kind of get in there. I mean, obviously, Michael Porter is going to be Michael Porter, but I just think that could be a spot where he can also get some run as well. But he's 22 years old, man. Like, you can have a hell of a long career. You know what I mean? So, compete for championships. Obviously, yes, you want to do that. But he can also be that team that starts a rebuild as well. He can be that player that starts a rebuild at a different team. So, like you said, the Wizards could be a big possibility. It's something that he really has to look into. But being in Golden State, I would definitely pass on that.
So we'll see what happens, Kuminga. By the time next week the show was around, we'll get some news on that, and we'll see what happens there. But like I said, you mentioned like Al Horford, he signs there. That's a good fit for them, and kind of a good depth move in my opinion. So good move for them right there. Real quick, D-Lock, JJ Redick contract extension from the Lakers, 2 years due. That brings his value of the contract to $45 million. Good move on your. Is it a good move for you, or?
I'm not mad at it. I just thought it was so early. So, you know what I mean? I just think that, damn, like y'all already extended him already. But again, I don't, JD Redick was a ball player, so he knows when to go back up to the table and go try to get some money. He's still looking at it like that. So I don't mind it, but the bigger thing is, what do they do, because LeBron's going to be done soon. So what are they going to do with this team? Like I said, Luka, obviously Luka's going to be the guy. How are they going to move forward? So you signed JJ Redick to this extension, but how do you make sure that he is successful? That's the biggest thing.
I think for me, you sent me the about it. I was like, I think it's a little too early for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, let's see how things play out. You know what I'm saying? He showed some promising things, but then some things, still wet behind the ears in a sense. But, we'll see how the season goes. Like Luka, playing the European Championships looked very good, slimmed down, all that, looking very good, played very well. You had Germany winning the whole thing. But Luka's looking real good. LeBron, looking good. They've been raving about DeAndre Ayton. I'm real curious how that works out. So good for him. And, the new ownership, that relationship kicks off. By the time the season starts, I think that's when the process gets done, completed. So we'll see how, that factors into things, all that stuff, and how that goes about, the future of the franchise. Now you got some more influx of money into the organization that you can possibly do more things, have access to more things. I'm not saying it didn't happen before, but, with the Buzz family, it's just like, okay, we'll try and make it work. We'll nickel and dime and try and make it work. Now with this new owner here, who, we know about the Dodgers and stuff like that, and their payroll and stuff like that.
Right.
It seems like it's bottomless in a sense. Now, granted, Clayton Kershaw is retiring, but still, the money's still flowing.
Right.
But now you got the new ownership in. Luka is signed to the long term in a sense. So we'll see how things go. That's all I got to say. But I think it's a little too early to give him an extension after he got bounced in the first round. So we'll see about that.
Extension after getting bounced is crazy.
Yeah, the way about it, all that stuff, and getting beat down by the Wolves. I just think it's like, let's wait to see how things go. Because y'all didn't, hell, Darvin Ham got y'all to the Western Conference Finals. And y'all didn't give him an extension.
Nope. You let him go.
You let him go the next year. Like, hell, at least bro got you to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Real quick, D-Lock. Bruce Pearl retired from coaching after 11 years with Auburn. Previous stops include the University of Tennessee, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then years prior to Milwaukee gig, toiling away in the D2 circuit and all that stuff. Your thoughts on this? I'll give you my thoughts in a little bit, but your thoughts on this and his son taking over the program.
I think I'll definitely watch my Warriors big time with this. So I'm looking at his career total record. What I see right now, 470 wins, 224 losses. It says .68 winning percentage. So, pretty successful. Now I remember when I was at University of Tennessee, back in, I ain't gonna say too far, but 2010, 2009, 2010. I remember a freshman at Kentucky named John Wall. Kentucky was who they were, right? Had the high expectations. They came into University of Knoxville, and Tennessee upset them. Bruce Pearl was the coach then. So I remember some of the good games that he had. Remember he used to go to, I think, football games with his shirt off, acting somewhat kind of crazy. So I think Bruce Pearl had a hell of a run in my eyes. I think he, took a few, like I said, he took a few teams to the Sweet 16, been in the Final Four, did a few things. Now, the retirement, cool, I get that. You hanging it up, what is next, right? To go to his son, how does this play out, and how long does this play out? What makes his son that ready for this job, for what this job at Auburn holds? One thing that we know, you being an Alabama fan, me being somebody that competed in the SEC is a tough-ass conference. Excuse my language. This conference, ladies and gentlemen, this conference is basically all professionals. Football, track, basketball, soccer, baseball, anything you can think of. There's literally professionals, and the tournament is literally a professional experience. That's why a lot of these professionals in all sports come from this conference. So you're going to experience the best in this conference. In this conference, we just literally sat and seen, I don't want to mess up his name, Arkansas coach, football coach.
Come on, Sam Pittman.
Think football coach just got let go. Yes.
Yeah, Pittman. Yeah.
Just got let go. So that tells you. Go ahead.
You know who they put in charge again?
And that is who?
Petrino. They put him back in charge.
So this, so with this, what I'm saying is this conference is so rough that these coaches don't have all the time as they do in these other conferences. You have a bad season or two, you're probably gonna be out of there. Side note, I'm a huge Gator fan. Billy Napier, you might be next. So hey, you better be on it next week. Anyway, this conference is a very tough conference. And I say that to say Bruce Pearl has done a hell of a job in this conference, University of Tennessee and Auburn. In my opinion, he had a hell of a career. But is his son ready to take on that responsibility? Can his son take on to this responsibility? Now, Auburn just signed with Nike, I believe, right? They just got rid of, they're done with Under Armour, and I think they signed with Nike. So because of that, we see these schools do this. That's probably more money invested. A hell of a lot more money invested. Now we have the transfer portal. Now we have NIL deals. We have all these different things. The expectation of Auburn has been increased. So can he take on this role and be successful? To follow behind somebody that has had a 68% winning total in his coaching career, there's expectations behind that. Now, giving it to his son, we clearly know how that trickled down. But again, are you ready for this job here? This job entails a lot, and we'll talk about it the more college basketball comes up. This is going to be something big. You're going to have to play Alabama, who's going to be a hell of a team. Florida, the returning national championship champs. All these teams, you're going to have to come back in and be ready to play. How long does he last? That's my biggest thought behind it. Like I said, kudos to Bruce Pearl. Let's see what he does. A lot of times we see coaches retire and then change their mind later. Who knows? But again, my biggest question is, how does his son take this role, and what does he do with it in the next year or two?
I think for me, real quick, he's a good, very great coach. I can't take that away from him. He's a very good coach, good X's and codes, get to both sides of his guys and whatnot. Each stop that he's been at in his college career, he's got the most out of that program. You know, getting Auburn to 2 Final Fours, and then, you know, and they were very close in 2019. You can argue that, you know, to the sun blows up, but, you know, they're close to a NCAA championship. So, you know, he took over an Auburn program that's kind of like this toiling in the 2000s and stuff like that. You know, Alabama's kind of like in that same level right there with them, but they were kind of slightly there, but Auburn's kind of like there, but they're very similar. And then they hired Pearl, the things kind of changed a little bit. And then, you know, after Avery Johnson, they hired Nate Oates. Now, boom, you both kind of here in a sense. In terms of like wins, stuff like that, keeping success, all that good stuff. So he's done a great job at Auburn. His son, I'm curious to see how it goes. If you look at the coaches at SEC, you got Nate Oates, you know, across the state from you. You got John Calipari at Arkansas. Florida, Todd Golden, who just won the national championship. Mike White in Georgia, former Gators coach at Georgia. Kind of seemed like they're turning things around. Mark Pope in Kentucky. Matt McMahon, LSU. Chris Johns at Mississippi State, very defensive-minded. Dennis Gates, very strong head, level-headed guy. Love Dennis Gates. Chris Beard, another tough defensive guy. Lamont Paris, very potential with him, but I just think Lamont Paris will probably flourish somewhere like in the ACC better than the SEC. Just my opinion. Then of course you got Rick Barnes in Tennessee, Bucky McMillan at Texas A&M, who I'm very familiar with. He used to coach high school here in Alabama, down in Mountain Brook, and he plays a very fast, up-tempo style as well. And I forgot the Vanderbilt coach's name, but he is very solid there too. So you got a lot of veterans there, some old and some guys, kind of in their early 40s that you got to contend with if you're Stephen Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be very tough to compete with. And then also, got by Oklahoma and Texas. They got Miller down in Texas now. Rodney Terry's out. Oklahoma got old boy, I forgot his name, Prosper up there. So you got a lot of teams got to compete with. And now these Auburn fans, you got the success at Auburn, stuff that you taste the Final Four. And now can your son keep up that momentum?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. So I'm kind of curious to see how things go and see how he handles the transition from being, a guy that was doing outwork besides basketball now to be a head coach at SEC school. We'll see how that goes. But
that's gonna be big.
I do wonder. Some of y'all don't know. Y'all new to the show, whatever. Y'all catch on the playback. I live in the state of Alabama. Some of y'all been talking about Auburn. Some of y'all probably familiar with Tommy Tuberville, former coach of Auburn football. Now, as some of y'all know, Tommy Tuberville is a U.S. Senator, and he represents my district. And as we know about politics and stuff like that, Tommy Tuberville, bends the knee for Donald Trump. Let's be real about that. Ain't no bones about it. I see here all the time, wherever President Trump says, woo, rah, rah, all that stuff. As we've seen in the past, in the political climate, D-Locke and all this stuff, Bruce Pearl been voicing his opinions more out in the open. And here in the state, Kay Ivey, the old lady, old grandma, that's the governor, she on the last term. There's rumors about Tuberville possibly run for the governor seat, which he might win anyways because Alabama's this Republican. But there's an offset chance that Bruce Pearl might run for that Senate seat. Now, this rumors. Pearl said he's not going to run anything like that. He's going to commit to help Auburn be the best they can be. But I think, the way he's been going about on these news sites and stuff like that, I just got a hunch. I just thinking he's gonna run for that empty Senate seat when Tommy Tuberville runs for governor. I think it's 50-50. Take it back. I'd say it's more 60-40 that he does it. Now he says he'll be the ambassador to the athletic director and be mentorship and support behind the scenes. I think that's just a front until Tuberville announces and he can slide in. But I think that's where he's headed. He's been more vocal about his views here lately. The political discourse, especially the last couple of weeks, has been hot trash. all that stuff. You seen it, I seen it. And I think that's where Bruce Pearl's heading.
So he got other goals then.
I think he has other goals. This is just my opinion. And I'll be more surprised, D-Lock, if he doesn't run. Because you don't go on Fox News, you don't talk to the Outkick folks, and you don't do that type of stuff and say, yeah, I'm just going to stay at Auburn. You don't do that stuff and voice your opinions like that and not do anything with it. You know what I'm saying? Not saying you can or whatever, but it's just like you won't be doing that stuff. Like if you still the coach, I mean, I'm not saying you would, but you won't be doing those interviews and stuff like that because it'll hurt your recruiting.
Yeah.
Like over the past couple weekends, they had like big time recruits coming in for visits at Auburn. I mean, I know these kids that get paid or whatnot, but you know, sometimes, hey, all money ain't good money. And why I want to second round play with Pearl if you got these views, stuff like that. So I think he goes in politics. We'll see, you know, about the coming year what happens there. But I think he goes into politics.
That'd be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I think he retired at this point to give his son the roster that they built during the summer, all that stuff. Okay, retire now. My son got his roster set. Granted, I think one player did try to put his name in the transfer portal, but the roster is intact. I got him set up for the season. And then that's it. So that's my view on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting. Like I said, if he hangs it up, well, he has hanging it, but if he get into politics, man, that's going to be something that's going to be very, very interesting.
So, like I said, back to his son in basketball real quick. Alabama is getting a lot of momentum, potentially getting a high-level class for next year. If you're Stephen Pearl in Auburn, you got to find a way to cut into that or something. Because Alabama is pressing hard. Arkansas is pressing hard. You know, Kentucky's going to be pressing hard. Florida, you familiar with this? Golden has done a very good job down there and probably got a good chance to repeat again.
Oh.
You know, Sean Miller down in Texas and those resources down there with him. So I think, you know, if you're Pearl, you gotta continue the success that your daddy left. Because he left you in a very good spot. And that don't happen much, you know, in college athletics. Especially in this day and age. That don't happen much. But I'll let you have last word.
I mean, I think, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, like I said, I think now you have the opportunity to be at a very big school, you know, with huge expectations. And like I said earlier, just repeating it, like this conference is not an easy conference. This is a conference that is bringing the best of best to the, you know, every game, every sport. So you got to come with it. So you got to tighten up, you know, get a recruit, man, to continue to be in it because you are competing against University of Florida. Who's going to bring in, we're going to bring in Alabama, we're going to bring in LSU, is going to come around. Texas, you know what I mean? You're bringing in Oklahoma. These schools are going to compete. So South Carolina, like these schools are going to be serious. So if you're not super good, this is not a team where you can take a year to get situated. That's not how this works. You got to be ready ASAP.
Yeah. So I think Auburn will be a team to watch this upcoming basketball season, see how they do, along with the other changes in the SEC, with the new coaches there and whatnot, and you know who sinks and swims this upcoming year. I think it's going to be like a test in the SEC this year, like who sinks and swims and who gets let go as well. I think that's another thing to keep an eye on, because you don't want to fall out of position in the SEC and then, you know, your program is going to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this thing to keep an eye on. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us. As you see on the ticker below, follow iSports Radio on all your social media feeds: X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I think we're also on Blue Sky as well, but not like we'll use that, but we're just going to throw that out there for you. So do throw that on as well. Do follow the TikTok page. We're really blowing up on there as well. Do like kind of people find your social media?
You guys can definitely find me at Black Dash 813. I'm usually doing that a few times, talking about basketball now coming up, and obviously football, my folks and also be like 813. So definitely find you in the social media.
Follow this page at Fast Break ISR. That's Fast Break ISR. You follow me on Spawn4288. That's Spawn4288. Also follow my other page, the Crooks Process, on TikTok and Instagram. You'll see the CP logo there on those sites as well. So next week, ladies and gentlemen, trying to figure out how we'll do the season preview. Once we get that figured out, I think the next couple of weeks will be fun shows for y'all. So tune in for that next week. We're back on the saddle. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.